I was looking at games. I'm like, oh man, whatever Arxis is doing with, Guilty Gear is going to be exciting. I can't wait to see what they're shaping up, and they're going to do some crazy game stuff, right? And
And they have fantastic online play in every one of their games.
and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're doing with Grand Blue and all this extra stuff. And that's an IP people that gacha people are already into and stuff. So we'll see how big that can get. But when I'm talking about like flipping the whole scene on its head and getting into that level of exposure that every other esports game at that DreamHack had, despite the fact that they didn't have as many people physically there playing the games, but the money and the payouts and the sponsorships and the everything was just so much more grandiose. Some game of the next generation, maybe Street Fighter 6, but I somewhat doubt it, needs to take an approach to online that is completely outside of what fighting games do right now.
I said it before SF5 was a twinkle, and I was like, SF5 should be fucking free, and it should be online focused.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was online focused, but that online focus was bad, and it definitely wasn't free, and it had its own issues, right?
And so at the time that these points were being brought up, I was arguing against them when Pedro was talking about them. But I went home. After I got home, I was thinking about it a lot, and I was like, no, that's actually why. Because the main point, the one of the final things that he said that I was like, fuck, that's really true, is that the feelings I have about like execution and arcade exclusion and all that stuff that I was thinking about before. There's a whole new generation of kids that are good at like these new games that have no bias whatsoever because they're too young for any of that
Arcades
shit.
never existed.
There's a whole bunch of kids that are really good at MK,
Yeah.
that are really good at Rocket League, that are playing Overwatch, that have no idea what that history is and have no connection to it. All they know is this game came out, they played it online a bunch, they liked it and played it more, and then got good enough to win money.
Yeah.
The end, right? So yeah, we're so far into the future that is a viable thing now that's happening more frequently that you just have to go, yeah, you know what? The history is kind of lost at this point and doesn't even matter. The main thing you need to do is make sure any one of these new kids that doesn't know anything about any of these games doesn't feel like putting it down after a day of two of playing online, you know? And I don't know what company is going to take that approach.
It's a shame that South Korea does not have a prominent, like, game scene in terms of fighting games.
Players, they do.
No. In terms of development.
Yes.
There's not, like, a famous fighting game developer from Korea that makes fighting games. Because Korea would totally know everything that you are talking about. Because Korea, as far as I'm concerned, is the birth of the modern esport. Mm-hmm. Because of the StarCraft shenanigans.
Yeah, that you can say that's where it all started.
Like, they would understand, hey, no, dude, you got what the fuck is this making? Oh yeah, you played a game online. Okay, you won, rematch. Is that it? Is that it? Are you fucking kidding me?
And they have a deep understanding of that and high level, like Tekken now especially, although the new capital of Tekken is apparently Pakistan. Shout outs to Arslan.
What's going on? What's going on in Pakistan? Everybody got good at Tekken.
Pakistan has a pocket group of beasts that have just been fucking thrashing, and no one knew. I was asking some of the Montreal guys about that actually, and it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing because for someone to come out of nowhere and basically, again, to just make it all the way to the top, it's like, who did he fight against back home? You know, what group of people are all on that level?
Who's the top 8 at his local arcade that are, like, in the top 32 of EVO if they were to all show up?
So we're starting to find out because a couple of Pakistani players are getting sponsored and starting to travel now and, like, putting motherfuckers on notice. And we're getting video clips of players like Nee going, yo, I think I need to go to Pakistan to start grinding. So it's pretty amazing. But anyway, yes, Korea had a pretty thorough understanding of that. They also have superb internet.
Yeah.
And would not understand at all what our problem is with their FiOS connections flying back and forth seamlessly.
I think it was Mike Z that was talking about it. No, it was Keats. Well, it was one of those two. They make a lot of the same points. I often get them confused when they're talking about fighting game, like the future of fighting games. Mm-hmm. But it's like, if you put the resources in, even in the US, even in Canada, this problem could be done with, but the game has to be built for it, and you have to spend the money, and you have to spend the focus and development time, but you could totally have a bunch of fucking games that play great online all the time. Look at KI and Skullgirls.
And I think it's a bit of a pie-in-the-sky solution, but if your online suite is so, like, thoroughly packed that there's enough for people to do, and casual people showing up for the first time are like, oh my god, yeah, I want to come back for my dailies and do all this fun stuff. If they happen to be on a garbage-ass Comcast connection or dial-up AOL bullshit, and then they try to play ranked, and it goes, sorry, your internet's garbage. Unfortunately, you can't play ranked. Thanks for buying the game. You can play these other modes.
That's outrageous.
Right? It sucks. But, like, if there's enough for them to do outside of that, it wouldn't sting as much. It wouldn't be that bad.
Because, like, almost every
you can't solve a bad connection.
Yeah, the packet loss is the killer. Like,
if someone's fucking Wi-Fiing onto ranked with their phone tethering their PS4,
if your ping
what are you supposed to do?
If your ping is ass, that can be accommodated to a degree, but if you have packet loss, you get fucked. And like I can think of because you've been talking esports for a good bit now, and like I think I've played Siege, not big, but I've dabbled. I played StarCraft 2, I played Counter-Strike, and I've dabbled in a lot of these. And all of the modern ones, I disconnected. And the game will go, hey, that's okay. You sure your internet's good? It's like, shit, I disconnected. And at some point, the game will tell you, you can go fuck yourself for the day, because you don't get to fuck up more games. And that's annoying. But these games are also all free, so you didn't lose anything.
No. But I mean, in the case that you are that garbage connection, you're ruining other paid players' enjoyment.
Yeah,
trying to force your way into terrible ranked
If
games.
you say, and apologies to those in advance because I'm going to use it as a point. Say you had crippling random narcolepsy, and you wanted to be a boxer, and you would just pass out in the middle of your matches, on occasion. If you were to do so, they would not probably allow you back into the ring a second time.
But I want to be a boxer.
I'm sorry, but the reality is that
my dream
people showed up to pay money to watch this fight.
But I love boxing, and I've practiced, and I've gotten good enough to...
Right? It's unfortunate, but in this particular example, you'd be also in danger of being actually killed.
Yes.
So it's slightly different. But, hey, people showed up and paid money to see the fight. And some of them might kill you, actually, for fucking the fight up. But that's different. But you know what I mean?
Weird analogy, but sure.
Right? It's just,
Your disqualification is necessary. And I hope you don't hold it against anyone. Because if you were outside of your body, seeing what you were doing to the sport with everyone else, you should be able to understand.
I remember
you're bringing it down.
Back in the day, before this kind of connection loss thing was penalized, a couple friends of mine from high school, we all wanted to play team StarCraft games, except Jimmy, whatever the fuck, I forget who the fuck it even was, had shit-ass internet. It was Eric. Eric had shit internet. And Eric would drop out of team games. So I don't want to play team games with you anymore, Eric, because it's a fucking guaranteed loss every time we play with you. No, but nobody cares, Eric. Just fucking yell at your dad to get you better internet, and he'll do it, because he will do anything to get out of the house with you and your horrible family.
One last point there was the other version of events that creates a whole lot of people paying a whole lot of attention to a fighting game almost accidentally is if you make a giant single player adventure game with mild multiplayer components that happens to have an arena in it where you can take your leveled up customized fighter and fight other customized fighters. And oh look, suddenly in the middle of your Dark Souls New Game Plus Plus, you found yourself participating in what is effectively a fighting game. Accidentally caring about it.
Oops.
You know, that's another alternative. So build a world and a game around the actual fighting game, and make this thing a huge distracting thing that gets people to pay attention to that. And then maybe they might accidentally stumble into the Colosseum mode where they take their customized single-player adventurers and fight a real fighting game.
Let me ask you a question. You said you know at least one or two people on the For Honor team, right?
Yeah.
Did because like you're talking about this, I'm like, did Dark Souls PvP create For Honor? Like, is there a thread there?
I don't know,
because you just phrased it in such a way that I see a thread.
You see the line,
and it's like Dark Souls 2 PvP was super popular and intense, and it had a whole scene dedicated to it, and the similarities are overt.
I don't know. Maybe it might have done that with Absolver.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was with For Honor, but yeah, it really does. But it does feel like it, and in fact, like, never forget that For Honor has all those modes where, much like Titanfall, you can go fight a bunch of bots for fun.
Yeah,
you know, and if you're feeling up to it, go take on a big boy for some big points.
Yay!
But like
arcade mode.
But the loop is there for you to keep having fun with it. You know, yeah.
Fighting games need a horde mode, and that horde mode needs to be dramatic battle. Because dramatic battle is the fucking shit.
I mean, that's kind of what Grand Blue's doing. They're doing 2-player co-op horde.
Yeah.
I just think it's like, yes, in some like in the same breath, I can also say like fighting games need to just not having envious eyes looking at everything else and just accept what they are and be happy with growing our own grassroots scene, right? And I'm like, and I've said that too, and I do believe in that. But then you look over at that fucking 100K pop bonus in fucking Rocket League, and you go, come on, none. I can't get none of that cake. You know that no. It's also weird when you think about the fact that you need to trick people into liking the fighting game by making it about other things. But we're in an era now where it's just simply the truth that features are behind and they haven't evolved.
All those games, what you mentioned, with the sole exception of StarCraft, all trick you into liking it because they're free. The trick is that it's free.
But I'm saying even but like in terms of what fighting games have been doing, like the people that are fans of fighting games have been happy with the offline basic modes.
Yeah,
because as long as the game's good, and
that crowd wants this thing, right?
But that's not growth.
But the big crowd wants this other thing.
Yeah,
and you can have both.
Mm-hmm. Like, and I remember we were in the discussion. I was trying to go back. I was like, what was the last game that was a huge esports game where online didn't matter as much as local? And I was like, oh god, like the first StarCraft, when people used to do LANs and early ass what's it called, terrorist versus Counter-Strike. When people do LANs, right? But that quickly went away.
Yeah,
you know.
So 1998. That's 21 years ago.
Both of those genres fully embraced online, and now those genres are still going with massive online suites.
Those games are still
games are still going.
Like with specifically.
Yeah, they started as local things and then stopped being that. So yeah. Anyway, whatever. That's DreamHack. That's me. That's stuff.
Fighting games need to be free. Do you want to grow? Make your game free.
It'll help. It doesn't have to be. It'll help.
I'm saying
it doesn't have to be.
I am putting my foot down on this. I'm saying for fighting games to achieve this new level of esports, they need to be free because they also have a massive fucking hump to get over that the other genres in many cases don't have.
It would go a long way to helping what we're looking for, but I think a paid route can work if the sell is compelling enough and if people are telling their friends to go pick it up. Like, you can get past it if the product is just that fucking solid as a single player beginner experience.
I think it's more likely to. I think it's an easier route for the current suite of devs, unless maybe ArcSys with Grant. Like,
free allows you to get away with bullshit because you're like, yeah, but you didn't pay anything for it.
like think about
So
Dota.
you can just go like, yeah, I know you didn't get what you wanted, but it's free.
Think
so it
about
didn't hurt
Dota
you.
and League and how the communities in those games are like the most toxic ass trash people that have ever existed, and how playing the game is absolute misery unless you have a team of 5. But it's free though.
Well, you say that, but have you seen the? You say those are the most toxic trash things, but have you seen the official listing of different fighting game communities on Fightcade?
Yeah.
And their percentage of messages with usages of hard R.
Ooh,
N-word
hard R
versus non-hard R N-words.
Oh yeah.
Yep, it's the official ranking list. Is
Who's
up
number
there.
1? Who's number 1?
JoJo Heritage for the Future.
Of course. Of course. Of course.
And number 2, you ask?
Yeah, what is number 2?
Melty Blood.
Of you know. You know those Melty Blood players love their hard R's.
Yo, you hit him with a plus R. Accent core.
Plus R.
Hit him with the plus R, bro. He said,
This
what?
is the real ranking of competitive games.
Yo, he hit him with the accent core. He said he hit him with yup.
This is the real true ranking.
Yep. Yeah, that got like shout outs to Lord Knight. That is my favorite fucking joke.
That's good in my chest. That's
like-
like a warmth.
You know, you're saying okay, so he said what? Yeah, anyway.
It reminds me of all those fighting game clips of people doing dumb bullshit and like fucking Art of Fighting, and just during the clip you can see the screen flash to green and the game restart as somebody fucking disconnects or fucking restarts the emulator. It's like, he's so mad.
Yeah, it's a giant list though, and it's pretty wild looking at it. But you're just like all the communities where you'd expect, like, no light has shone on the Heritage for the Future community in years. So
What's going on over here? Oh,
the centipedes are scurrying to the corners as you flash the flashlight over
darn.
there. Yeah, it's
You know what this last batch of the conversation makes me think about?
yeah.
It makes me think about, like, me and you are, like, having good old hearty gut laughs, and I'm, like, touching my chest, and I'm feeling a warmth. And it's a deep, deep warmth over hoes getting mad and salty. And everybody enjoys people getting mad, but I'm like, but fighting games have, like, a weird salt community, like, idolization of getting... You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's why I said in the beginning that stupid ass habit we had of being completely unfriendly to beginners is also a fun, hilarious thing that continues to this day.
I don't want to win and shake my opponent's hand. I want to win and hear the opponent like throw their baby out the window online.
I had to fight Reggie in Street Fighter V in bracket this weekend.
Are you serious?
You should have heard it. You should have heard it. Like, we didn't stop. Like it was fucking, like, what handshakes? There were no handshakes. It was the most toxic fucking garbage all weekend. And motherfucker, like, if you didn't know, if you were just walking by, you would go, oh, that's FGC, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Too late, Tommy. Too late, mother. I've heard everything.
Yeah.
It's
like, I don't want to have a friendlies and then hug my opponent and be like, man, you did a good game. Like, I wanna make somebody so mad that they stop playing fighting games and then they go home and commit crimes.
You want a chorus of large black friends behind you chanting, somebody's getting fucked.
Oh, man.
Get fucked. Somebody's getting fucked.
How many people was that? It's like 30, 40, 50 people in that?
You get fucked. It's what you want. It's what you need. And trust me, I understand.
It feels so good in my heart.
It feels fantastic. There's nothing else like it in any other community. And to lose that means to lose the true self.
I like to think that can't go away at this point. There's too much of it, or it would take like 20 more years for it to go away. Because let's say
thuggery may die, but the soul still burns.
Snap our fingers, right? Snap, and start Brood War level esports for a fighting game right now, right? There will still be those dark, dank pit locals in which the grime remains.
Pop-off report news will always have material.
People will clean themselves up to go to be on the TV. But
you've seen Yipes doing commentary recently?
I've seen Yipes discover what ABBA is, which is much weirder.
That man is a professional-ass broadcaster right now. Yipes is a professional-ass broadcaster.
That's stupid.
It is his official... It is his main calling. It is what he does. And it is great. He's fucking good at it.
Okay.
He's crushing it.
I have not personally met Yipes. I have heard nothing but good things about Yipes. He is a good man. He is a good commentator.
Yep.
Yipes is exactly the kind of person who I would lament their increasing obsolescence in the new esports world. As in my, this is a weird, selfish, like, but I want Yipes to stay grimy and awful and unbroadcastable.
Oh, you see, and no, it's still there. It's all still there, right? The old New York attitude and costume, he put a suit and tie over it.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely there. And instead of getting washed over and having other new commentators come in, he's maintaining that position.
That's weird to
and
me.
Still brings it. But it's always going to be a part of it. And like, and in some cases, some streams, there's a time and place where you can just get a little bit more grimy, you know, and maybe ESPN might not be the time to break out somebody's getting fucked. But later that night,
it is.
But later that night at the Salty Suite,
yeah,
you know, but yeah, and that applies to just about almost every game. Is there's a hardcore OG like,
oh man,
feeling.
You go down to those fucking Rocket League parties. They're fucking shooting drugs in the corner. No, that's not true. That's not true at all.
Anyway,
you're like
anyway. Yeah, it'll always be there. It'll always be there. But I think we can, and I think though that like even if the savior comes along, and yeah, like you said, turns everything on its head. The holdouts, the ones who remember the way things used to be, the Scrub Croats Twitter account will forever be relevant.
The savior is Arc System Works. Like
someone asked me.
Period.
Someone asked me if I would turn my key to approve the launching of Street Fighter 6 developed by ArcSys. And I said yes a lot faster than I thought I would.
Yeah, absolutely. In a second.
Yeah. But this is all beyond that, because even ArcSys doing amazing things right now are not on the thing that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yet. They're not at that level.
They're
yet.
easily the closest.
They're getting pretty close.
They're the only fighting game company that I can think of that is out of Japan that has been like, no, online's really important. And they do use delay-based netcode, but it's really good delay-based netcode. So, and they build their whole game around. Listen, we have about 8 frames to play with. Is your ping good enough to live in 8 frames? Game's fine. Game's okay.
Roll back, please. We want Fightcade.
Sure, but like the fact they have a part of their dev team devoted to online. They don't throw it at Jimmy.
It's there, but it's still a Japan-focused situation. It's nice that they show you how many frames of delay are on your games in Guilty Gear and in BlazBlue and such. It's nice to know the number as opposed to pretending it doesn't exist.
Well, then you get who would it be? The Cannons, Keats, and Mike Z. And
sure.
You put them on a plane.
Sure.
And you get the meeting with Capcom people, and you force them to listen.
Yeah, but like Riot and fucking Radiant they're just like, no, we're just gonna take it if no one's taking it. So they're doing their thing.
So take it. What are you waiting for?
I guess a couple more assets to be built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really hope the League fighting game. We keep calling it the League fighting game,
League of
but
Fighters.
we don't actually know anything.
The fuck else is it gonna be?
I hope it's not a League fighting game. I hope it's its own thing, like an Overwatch, but made by Riot and the Cannons.
Yeah, I only say League fighting game because I think people would instantly care more. If
I just don't dig any of the League stuff.
Yasuke's really cool.
I'm sure
He's a cool samurai.
Those diva K-pop characters are cool.
I like Tron lighting.
Yeah,
That's it.
Akali. Her pick rate went up a lot when that skin came out. I remember hearing,
I don't know,
which is funny.
but yes, I keep saying that because I think did I say Yasuke? I meant Yasuo. Yasuke is the cool black ninja, black samurai. Excuse me, I'm fucking drunk.
Hey, you know what's a fun metric that I just reminded myself of?
Yeah.
So in fighting game, you talk about the matchup. You talk about it's essentially a deduction of win rate, right?
Yeah.
I remember when I was reading through HOTS stuff, but it also applied to League and Dota, pick rate is actually the most important one. Because win rate can't be determined based on a 5v5 because there's too many other factors, right? But you look at, say, man, Arthas has really fucked this patch. His pick rate's like 62%. That's crazy. That means that means like most games have an Arthas in it. Wow. But skins
There's
can
over
affect
150 characters you can pick, right?
that. In League?
Yeah.
Ah, fuck. There's a lot.
How do you learn matchups in a
Play-
game?
you play a lot of matches.
Because I'm pretty sure Smash Brothers is on its way to hitting 100 characters.
Where are we at now? Like 78 or some shit?
I mean, we blew past Marvel 2. We blew past Blaze Blue.
People are saying 160 plus.
Yeah. How do you fucking learn matchups in a game with that many characters in it?
Well, since we're not the expert, but people in our chat do play these games,
The answer appears to be is...
you don't and you get fucked.
Yes.
Which, hey, that actually makes for a cool moment on stream.
So you just can't ever really fully be prepared for what you're going to encounter.
The more you play, the more you learn, but people who are going to pick that character over and over and over are going to learn things that...
Because now you're getting into that thing that bugs me about, like weird non-standardized equipment-based moves and like Injustice and shit like that.
Yeah.
Where like I'm fighting your character, but then suddenly you just do a move I've never
Now,
seen.
granted,
before.
that these are different characters, and in a Dota or a League, the characters have 3 fucking moves.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of some ancient story that I remember hearing Brad tell on the Giant Bombcast from like 4 or 5 years ago, in which he was watching the International or some shit, and there's a character called Meepo in Dota, which is 5 characters, like it is 5 units as a single character, and I think he described that the player destroyed a tree on the map or something in such a way that allowed a new sight line that allowed a teleport or some shit that nobody could think of, and that only a player that used this character all the time, and because it's the same map would this be possible, and just the potential for hidden tech and hidden bullshit arises.
And I love that because I talk lovingly about Kasoru's Marvel team of Beautiful Joe, Frank West, and Logtrap.
Oh wow, this seems like a totally oh my god.
What is that? Why did that work? What's with this boomerangs are good? Okay, what? So, yeah, like, digging to find that tech is always a thing for sure. But I guess in a world where there's 160 plus fucking matchups, and the answer being you fucking don't, it just means that anyone who does is that much closer to winning.
You're actually lowballing it like crazy. So I'm going to use HOTS terms, which for the luck of this analogy uses characters people might already know, but you're not. It's not 160 plus matchups because you're thinking about Arthas versus Kerrigan, right? But it's not Arthas versus Kerrigan. It's Arthas with the buff that Zul'jin gave him against.
Because it's 3v3.
Against Zagara, who's locking down the lane, and then the medic is keeping her alive.
Okay,
like
yeah,
it's infinity.
It's infinity. Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
Like you could totally learn one-on-one matchups.
So what would help? I guess what helps me, what I'd like to see So if I could check
Don't forget items and trait selection.
there are items in Dota and in League.
Dude, you were talking about how, like, oh, I have to learn your version of the character in NetherRealm.
Yeah.
Items are like half the game in Dota and League.
Is an item an equipable?
Yeah, there's a shop, and as you kill, you get gold.
Okay.
And you use the gold to buy item, and then you kit yourself out in a build.
And anyone can apply that.
Yeah, but the builds are like there's like, how many fucking items are there in the shop? Like 100?
Okay.
Do you want a health potion? Do you want a thing that makes your crits better? Like, it's infinity.
So what? I would love to see what would help me, because I'm thinking about matchup knowledge in terms of how much you have to know about, obviously, fighting games, right?
Yeah.
When you're playing chess, you got to know what every piece does, and you got to know what each setup is going to be. And the more setups you know, the closer you are to being the world champion. What does the current top players in a given MOBA? I'd love to know how many of the common teams of 3. Am I correct? Right?
5.
5 players?
Yeah.
Okay, so 5v5 is how it goes?
Yep.
Like, there's obviously popular configurations.
Yeah.
How many teams of 5 do they know well enough inside out in such a way? And
well, they need to, and here's the fun part.
And how many blind spots are there amongst the best of the best?
Because you're forgetting a part of you're forgetting a piece of the MOBA pie that, if you played a little bit of HOTS, but you wouldn't have encountered this, that is laughable to translate back onto fighting games. And that is, they need to know at least 40. Because there's the counter pick.
Yeah.
No. Not the fighting game counter pick. There's the... I know that Wooly is really, really good with Meepo. So, in the pick process, I will say Meepo is not allowed to be used by the other team.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay.
Which means you
Like
don't
Smash.
just have to know what you know. You also have to know what you need to know when they know that you know what you know, and they
take it away from
disallow
you. Yeah.
what.
And take it away from you.
So
the denial picks.
let's say there's a meta team in League, right? It will literally never show up in a match because they'll go, get rid of that, get rid of that. That team's too good. Kill that, kill that. Remove that team's anchor. Remove log trap. Get it out of here.
The best Overwatch players probably don't have a strat for absolutely every comp possible.
No.
There might be some wacky ass fucking Hanzo Doomfist team that just has a weird ass. I don't know. You know, that they've just never encountered.
You know what's
before.
easier than learning that matchup?
The individual characters is probably the most of what they understand and have strats against, right? So in the teams of 5, I guess what I'd like to know is just like, is it a situation where, like, the more you know of that, the closer you are to being the #1 player in the world? Is it just that simple?
It is an interesting question, because I remember for some reason I was clicking around and I ended up on this guy's, like, well-spoken guy, I don't know his name, but just talking about, like, systemic issues with League. And the #1 problem that League had, according to him, is that League patches too often. Because you're dealing with hundreds of characters that are getting buffed and nerfed maybe once a month. And it's like, it's actually impossible to keep up. There's no way.
It's a fascinating thing for me to think about, like, a game where the upper echelon doesn't have, like, omniscience of, like, character matchups, because, like, if you know everything about every matchup, and if you know, you don't even have to know the frame data, but if you know just how generally safe and unsafe every character's moves are in a given fighting game, you're going to be pretty fucking strong at your locals. You might win your locals regularly, and when you go to Evo, you'll do well, but that's not going to get you to top 32. It'll get you out of your pools, and it'll probably get you somewhere in top 128.
We've circled around, and you have just made the point that fighting games and learning your matchup are very much like, say, boxing. You will watch every match that your opponent has ever been in, and you will study it and go, oh, he drops his elbow here. Oh, maybe. Compared to, say, I don't know, football or basketball. You can't learn every player in the league and every combination of the starting five for every basketball team in the entire league.
That's a really good point. That's a completely different
You
approach.
can't. It's impossible.
It's a different sport. It's a different...
All you have to do is go as hard as you can and work off what you're literally seeing with your eyes in the first quarter.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. It's once you start working in teams and like just once the approach just gets so varied, you just have to have enough of an understanding of what you're dealing with, and I assume an inherent strategy that just steamrolls most situations. And that's
I imagine in terms of, say, let's say basketball, who was a team with Curry on it a little while ago? Washington?
Golden State?
What's that?
Warriors?
Yeah, the Warriors, right? That was the meta composition of this man shoot the basket real good.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody learned that meta and how to deal with it, but nobody was learning the meta of bumfuck team whose name I can't remember because you were going to beat him anyway. Who gives a shit? Fuck them.
The Seattle Supersonics.
Is that a real team?
Yes.
Okay.
The Spurs. Yeah. Interesting.
The basketball meta is getting the basket to have a ball in it. Many times.
I'm always curious about bowling competitions because I'm always like, how is it not just a bunch of people landing perfect strikes? Perfect games every time?
Like
is it not just perfect game versus perfect game?
It's like rally racing. It's essentially a time trial. Like the competition aspect is totally pointless.
Okay, so it's whoever does it first.
No. Hey, Woolie, it's really hard to bowl a perfect game.
Okay, professional bowlers must do it pretty often compared to regular people.
It's really, really hard to bowl a perfect game.
But what about that one guy that popped off and it was like, dude, what the fuck did he say? Who are you? I am. You ever see that legendary pop? Yeah, okay, maybe one day a pop off report news will come out about that. This fucking bowling guy lands a strike and just old dad just loses his mind popping off on everybody.
Like to compare,
who do you think you are? I am.
To compare bowling to something else that might that has a little more gradation. It's like in golf, a perfect game is par.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But you want to do better than a perfect game. You want to go
under par.
And some people, oops, I fucked up a stroke. Like you ever see the ranking of like who's winning a golf tournament? It's like the top guy at -5.
Yeah.
And then 10 guys at -4. Right? It's fucking granular.
Yeah.
And you like how could you enjoy watching golf? It's like the guy who's in the lead has to make like one bad putt and he's down to 12th.
Oh yeah. For sure. It's tight. It's tense.
It's like
that's why those same thing for like a pool where it's like, guess what? Both people playing here know how to hit the cue ball and fucking sink anything in any pocket because they're that fucking good. Yeah. They're trick-shotting billion-dollar motherfuckers.
So you're not watching for skill; you're watching for mistakes.
Essentially, right? You're expecting near perfection, and choosing which to hit.
It's like watching NASCAR.
Sure.
They're going to go in that oval, and they're going to go real fast, right up until that guy hugs the edge just a little too much. Or F1, where that guy's going to try and rub the other car, and the wheels are going to fly off, all of them, and they're going to go into the stands. And it'll be the greatest thing you ever saw. Rest in peace, everyone in the stands.